Hey, this is about my Ozark Trail M2 Ridge mountain bike. If you clicked on this video, you've probably heard about this. Ozark Trail is the internal house brand for like outdoor and recreation equipment at Walmart. And somebody in Bentonville, Arkansas, um, has started taking the bicycle game at Walmart a lot more seriously and has really increased the quality and upgradability of their in-house branded bikes. Now, it's my understanding that Kent is manufacturing these bikes for Walmart, and that may or may not be true. Whatever, that's not important. I mean, Kent owns a couple of different bicycle companies, everything from high end to low end, and they're doing an absolutely wonderful job. These are bike store quality bikes that you can buy at a department store like Walmart for a very reasonable price. So the M2 Ridge is $398 brand new, but I am not a cyclist. I'm not really a mountain biker. I don't consider myself a cyclist per se because I'm not competing and I'm not into cycling at a mega level. This all started because I was on a big cut trying to make it down to 12% body fat by my 50th birthday, which I did achieve with the help of these bikes. And so I discovered the M2 first, but then I got wooed over to the gravel bike, the G1 Explorer, because I didn't need a mountain bike. I just want a bike to pedal. And I'm riding mostly pavement. I'm very fortunate in that I live on a municipal paved trail system for bikes and pedestrians that is about a 17-mile loop if I take the whole thing. But from where my house is, I normally make it about 13.2 miles, which takes me about an hour. And I get up at 5 in the morning, especially in the summer. I am out the door, no coffee, nothing. I don't need stimulants. I just get up, I come out to the garage, get on the bike, and I'm immediately on the trail and pedaling for an hour. So that's the first thing I do. And getting the light into my, I'm in Arizona, so I get a lot of sunlight in my eyes. Seeing trees and things whip past, which is stimulating, and then just getting my blood pumping for an hour by having a pedal cadence for an hour. It is absolutely amazing and it's transformational for me. So this all started out as just a way to come up with an alternative form of cardio to walking because I get real bad shin splints from both walking and running. And I got the bike when I was really bad having shin splint problems. I mean, I can work on that. I can stretch and get that fixed, but I didn't want to stop because I had a due date for when I wanted to have the cut to be done by. So I went and got the gravel bike. I have the flat bar version with the 1x8 drivetrain. And as you can see, I put 70 millimeter riser bars on it. I know it makes it look like an old man bike, but it's a very comfortable riding position for me to get up. And I'm like totally over the whole road bike tuck. However, I will say that by having bars that tall, when I come back and I'm going from west to east toward the east, I normally am fighting a headwind every morning. And yeah, having those riser bars put my torso up higher, I am definitely pedaling twice as hard as I got to overcome that headwind. But that's okay. My goal is to pedal for an hour. That's really all I needed. I mean, the G1 was all I needed. I just wanted a mechanism for fitness and working out that beats the heck out of going to a commercial gym and running a spin bike for an hour. And that certainly does. But through that process, I'd become aware of the M2. Now, I didn't at the time have big aspirations to go mountain biking because I'm very, very busy. And the idea of me leaving, loading the bike, going to a trailhead, which could be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour away. That's just not something that I have a whole lot of time to do right now. But with the gravel bike, just launching straight out of my driveway and getting it done, I mean, before the sun's even up sometimes, it's amazing. But, I just kind of had that M2 is such a good deal in my mind. I thought, well, it'd be kind of nice to get that mountain bike too at some point. Well, one showed up on Facebook Marketplace locally. It was 4 months old. It was the new M2. Bought at our local Walmart, but the guy was moving, selling everything, and so I got it for $200. 4 months old. So I couldn't resist. I immediately bought it. So here it is. So here is now my M2 Ridge mountain bike. And one thing you'll notice is that, with the exception of the riser bars and the different grips, which were kind of required for the bars, the gravel bike is completely unmodified. That thing has run like a sewing machine since the day I got it. The brakes are adequate for what I'm doing with it. The Shimano Altus powertrain has worked flawlessly. It shifts good. I don't have any chain skipping. I have no complaints about that bike. It does have a steel front fork, which some people say is, adds weight. Yeah, the bike is 28 pounds, but it's fine. You pump the tires up to 85 pounds. I'm normally running toe clips on the bike too. But I have set this bike up for my daughter, my 13-year-old daughter. So I put flat pedals on it for her to ride and lowered the seat just so she could go on a ride with me this weekend. Because now we have a second bike in the household. And you can probably already pick up that the M2 Ridge has changed a lot. So common complaints about these bikes. The first thing is they don't stop. Yes, it does have disc brakes, but they're mechanical disc brakes. And I found them to be completely inadequate. And certainly on the rear brake, because you get a lot more cable stretch, I couldn't even get the rear tire to lock up. So I decided I was going to do what everybody else does, which is to install the Shimano MT201 hydraulic brakes, which is a very easy conversion. Now you can just buy them, and they come with the lever and the caliper. They're pre-bled. You can just bolt them on and kind of zip tie up your extra cable. That's what some people do. Not me. I wanted to totally integrate them with proper cable lengths. So I cut them both down and bled them. I also went to a 200 mil. The M2 Ridge comes with a 180 millimeter front rotor in the front, and then a 160 in the rear. I bought a 200 or 203 or whatever rotor for the front, and then moved the 180 from the front to the rear. So I bought one rotor to upgrade the front and rear, because now the rear is upgraded to 180, which I had on the front, and I got a 200 here. That combined with converting them to hydraulic, and the bike brakes wonderfully now. When I did that, it was kind of the same. You have to buy different brackets. This is specifically a bracket to go out to 200 millimeter rotor. And, they come in black or they come in red anodized or whatever color. And I thought, I'll go ahead and get it red anodized and add a little color. And then I decided, well, I'll just get some color rotor bolts and skewers too. Because I had decided that I didn't like the gray anymore and that I was going to paint it. I have an extra Duracoat kit, which is a firearms finish, an epoxy-based firearms finish, and I was going to paint it bronze, but I ran out of time. So not going to do that maybe until next year. I just don't have time to keep messing with it. But anyway, front and rear brakes, and I kind of got the red accents because I thought it would go good with the bronze, but now I'm just going to leave it like it is. But instead of painting it, you might notice it's hard to tell here, I actually polished it. So I wet sanded it. Then I buffed the whole frame out with rubbing compound while the frame was together. I did it just in little pieces. Then I went over it with swirl remover, and then I went over it with a Carnauba wax and got it a little bit shiny. And that really changes the look of it too. That was pretty fun. So the next issue, after I got the brakes all tuned up, was that I had a lot of trouble with the factory micro shift drivetrain. A lot of people say it does good, and that's great. I may have I bought the bike used, so the previous owner may have, bent my derailleur or something. I know how to tune a derailleur, and I could not get that thing squared away. It would shift great from 1 to 2 and then maybe 2 to 3, but then when it would get in the middle of the cassette, it would have extreme delayed shifts, and it would chain skip sometimes. And I was trying to tough it out, and I kept tuning on it like every night, thinking, man, I mean, there's not much to this. I'm going to get this fixed. And eventually I just got tired of it and wanted it off. So I did some research and found that this Shimano Dior is kind of an entry mid-level set of components. They offer it's above the Shimano Qs, and they offer it in a 1x11, which fits a non-boost hub on a standard HG freewheel, and decided to go for it. I got the 11 to 51 tooth 11-speed cassette, the 11-speed derailleur, the 11-speed chain, and the shifter for $180. And I also upgraded the crank set at that time to the Shimano Dior M5100 crank. The crank was $59. The bottom bracket was $20. And I also changed the factory. These bikes come with a 30-tooth front chain wheel. I knew I needed a little bit more road gear, so I went to a 32-tooth. And I don't think that's quite enough. I'm still running out of gear on the road. I'm not mountain biking this a lot right now at all because it's too hot in the desert to go mountain biking. So might go up to a 34 chain wheel on here just to have a little bit better hybrid gearing for both pavement and for off-road, which is kind of the kind of stuff I'm doing. So upgrading the drivetrain to those components has been amazing. The other big thing that I wanted to do, but didn't really have the money for at the time, was this RockShox air fork. As we can see, here's the factory Suntour XCT30. That's got a steel spring in it. It's a pretty heavy fork system, but it is very reliable and durable. It's great. There's nothing wrong with it. But 4th of July sale popped up, and I was able to get this RockShox Judy Silver TK fork that fits this bike with standard spacing and quick release. I got it for $177. So I was really happy with that because I wanted to use Shimano brakes, Shimano drivetrain, RockShox forks. It's not upgrading if you're buying a bunch of knockoff stuff from AliExpress. I wanted to actually put better parts on the bike than it came with if I was going to change them. So that all went really well. And my favorite feature on the fork right now is the lockout, because as I said, I'm mostly riding this on pavement in place of my gravel bike, and being able to lock out the front fork when I'm on pavement has been really great. But when I unlock it, the fork feels just wonderful, for off-road too, what little off-road I've done. I'm running the stock tires because these are just fine. I pump them up to 65 pounds and ride it mostly on pavement. They've been okay in some off-road single tracks that I've been on. They're kind of a perfect hybrid between partially aggressive, but also not bogging you down too bad when you're on kind of flat ground. So the bars right now, I keep changing this. These are 50-50, 35 millimeter rise bars. And then I went to a 35 millimeter stem, which is the center distance from here to here. The stems used to have, I think, a 65 millimeter stem, so it was really pushing this out. But this frame is a large, and I'm only 5'10". Now, technically, they say it can fit me, but it is pretty big. So I wanted to get those bars back and closer to me. So I actually have a set of 70 millimeter rise bars for this also. And for pavement riding, just like the gravel bike, I do prefer the 70 millimeter because I can then change these spacers and change how many spacers I am above or below the stem to kind of fine tune. Once I get the bar up there, then I can move it up or down find out the perfect place where I want it. But I went to the 35s and then moved it up, I think 8 millimeters down here by changing where my washers are. That's going to be my perfect sweet spot, I think, for mountain biking for me. But for riding on pavement, I'm bent over. I'm in a pretty aggressive mountain biking position when I'm just trying to pedal on pavement for an hour or so. But I love it. I mean, it's working out perfect. The red accents thing just kind of worked out that way as I kept having to buy parts, and if I could get them in red, I would get it. Okay, yeah, sure, I'll get them in red. The only other thing that I would need to do to this would be to go to a dropper post. I do want to do that once I start getting off-road a lot more often. But for now, new drivetrain, new front fork, new brakes. Obviously, I've got both toe clip pedals and flat pedals for it. Is it a good enough value to commit to? Should I go to Walmart and buy one of these bikes, or should I go on Facebook Marketplace and wait until a deal on a Trek Marlin 6 or Marlin 7, or maybe a Specialized rock hopper pops up, to just start with what is perceived as a better quality bike from the start? Based on my research, that may not be true. First of all, the rock hopper and Trek early, like the kind of lower lines in those models, they don't have near as slack or aggressive geometry. They're meant to be kind of just do all, or, you know, kind of maybe, I don't know, cross-country style bikes. They don't have internal cable routing. Some of them don't, that this one does. Some of them do now. So they may or may not be pre-plumbed for a dropper post where you can do internal cable routing with a dropper post. And then also, bikes you have to do the same exact upgrades. They're going to come with the XCM 30 shock. They're going to come probably with you know, substandard. If you get a low line rock hopper, now if you get a higher line rock hopper, the higher up into that line you buy, the more you get. So it's hard to tell. You got to pick something very specific and compare it. But I'll use an example here. As it stands, I have about $740 total in this bike, considering that I bought the bike for $200, not $400. Well, what else can you get for $740? Well, if I bought a rock hopper, or if I bought a Trek Marlin 6 or 7, I would have to upgrade that bike too. So, I mean, I'm done upgrading. All my mods are done at $740, and I've got what I feel is a pretty good frame and a pretty good bike. Now, what if you find a smoking deal, let's say on a Trek Roscoe, like a Trek Roscoe 8, or maybe a Specialized Chisel hardtail, and those are like $1,700 retail. And if you can get something like that on Facebook Marketplace used but in good condition for like $800-900, maybe even $1,000, would it be an extra $300 jump from where I'm at to get a Specialized Chisel? Yeah, probably. I mean, I probably would want to do that if I would have had the education. Whenever you start upgrading components on this, you kind of start to understand what bikes already came with this level of component, or what would be an upgrade from even this, and you kind of figure it out along the way. So by the time you get a bike build, use that term loosely, done, which I've done with this Ozark Trail, you kind of figure out in the off-the-shelf bikes at a bike store bike like a Specialized or a Trek about where you'd be. And I would want to be probably on a Specialized Chisel hardtail medium frame if I was going to start all over. And if I put out a search for 6 months and I could get one of those, like a $1,700 bike, a couple of months old, for like $1,000, that would be what I would probably try to do. That's not how I did it, though. I bought this bike for $200. I learned how to be a bike mechanic along the way. I'm not saying I'm a bike mechanic, but I did buy all the tools to do all this stuff. I got my YouTube University degree in how to change the crankset, and how to do some of these things. I even bought the brake bleeding tools now, so I could do this again, and I could do it so much easier than the first time now that I've got the experience. I'm really happy with the bike I got here in this Ozark Trail. I mean, really can't believe for like $730 how nice of a bike I was able to put together, and it rides nice too. I'm not saying, oh, I put these components on it and so mine's equivalent. I'm saying it rides like an equivalent bike. Could I use better tires if I was mountain biking? Yeah, that's another $100-150. Do I want to go to maybe better pedals in the future? Okay, maybe, but you're going to have to put upgraded pedals on anything else you do too. I would do it again, but that doesn't mean that I'm not interested in actually having like maybe a specialized chisel, uh, full squish, full suspension, or hardtail, or maybe even going up to an Epic in the future. But what is that I think that Walmart deserves mad props because if they didn't offer at such a high value, I mean, just an unbelievable value for $250, where literally, you can go through self checkout, buy rifle ammunition, peanut butter, and this bike. Get home, make sure it's put together right, and start riding. I think I put on 15 miles the first day I bought it, and immediately start burning calories and working your way toward a better VO2 max, toward being leaner. You could be working your way away from diabetes, away from hypertension, and toward a better VO2 max, and be doing it outdoors instead of, on a spin bike machine in a gym for $250. And so they deserve all the credit, because I would not have re-entered cycling, and I certainly wouldn't have not one but two bikes right now, are not offered this great deal to incentivize me to get back into it. Will I go up to a Specialized or a Trek in the future? I don't know. I think that with the money I've spent in this Ozark Trail Ridge, I've got a good bike that's going to last me a long time. The only reason why I would upgrade is if the performance became insufficient for the terrain I was riding. And I'm not planning at age 50 to get too crazy on like downhill slalom or, I'll just be like your typical cross-country pedaling guy. But I'm pretty stoked about it. I think that it would be a good value, even if you paid full price for the bike at Walmart. You can ride it, and then you can upgrade it as you go. You can make it your own. They're great. And then if for some reason a year later you decide you don't like it, and you're not a mountain biker, and you want to get rid of it, roger that. Sell it on Facebook Marketplace. They're selling for $200 to $300. So if you paid $400, you're going to be out $100 for a bike lease for a year. Now, if you go buy a $1,700 to $2,700 Specialized, and then a year later you decide you don't like it, you're not going to sell it and have a $100 loss. You're going to have a $500 to $800 or $1,000 loss. So I think this is a pretty good place to start if you're not like me, if you're not a professional cyclist. So I say I'm not a cyclist, despite the fact that for the last, again, 5 to 6 months, I'm putting in 100 miles a week. I'm doing 15 miles a day every day. And that's what's important, is turning that crank. I'm not doing it as a part of a community. I do it by myself. I'm not going to any club rides, or I'm not a member of any cycling clubs. But I do see the same people out on the trail every day, and we give each other a wave. And I'm getting faster. I can complete my loop faster every day. Of course, the gravel bike is way faster than the mountain bike, just as far as weight and resistance goes. The gravel bike feels like a rocket ship, and is perfectly capable of handling like gravel roads and fairly rough terrain compared to a road bike. So if you don't have a big aspiration to hit the trailhead and find some really gnarly in the woods type stuff, the gravel bike's a really great option. And it's also $250. Or you can, like me, get the gravel bike. This is my main jam. And now I've been able to build this one up. It's been a great experience. I would recommend it. See ya.